Welcome to the Awhile Chat podcast with me, Beth,
Josh
and Ryan.
This podcast is all about exploring the big questions, the small moments and everything in between.
Whether you're stuck at the shops, in traffic or just looking for some inspiration, our chat is here to keep you engaged.
It's time to talk, connect and find meaning in those everyday moments.
Welcome to the Awhile Chat.
Are we rolling? Rolling and
Are we
stop?
officially in? Are we officially in?
Well, we can officially start whenever you want, really.
Well, obviously, officially, and people might have seen this on the stories that we've posted as well. There's a bit of a story why there's been the gap. Let's just address that first of all.
Yeah.
Obviously, this isn't our usual surroundings, is it?
No.
As we know. And the reason why is because our little podcast space that we had was pulled from beneath us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
By a person who should remain nameless because it's just a business thing. I get that. But part of that has meant that we've had to look for temporary accommodation and temporary equipment, which is actually now permanent equipment because we bought it ourselves. We're in Josh's house and Beth's house, obviously.
Yeah, my house as well.
You know what I meant.
My house. But yeah, the whole gap between it, this still feels like brand new again because this is reminding me of when we came up with the idea of doing the podcast. And now it's done like a full circle in my opinion. We've done 5 episodes. I'm at the point now where this is our 6th. It's starting to feel like people are, as you say, the reason why there's been a gap, it's made people ask the question like, when's your next episode coming out and this, that and the other. And as I say, it hasn't been down to us. It's just been obviously...
The people want what they want. No, but it has though, hasn't it? Because we've been at what? Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but we've been like 5 weddings since.
Yeah.
Both of us. In that, 2 or 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
And
Such in 3, is it?
such in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And
Maybe 3 weeks to the day.
people have said to us, haven't they, at said weddings,
Yeah.
oh, I love listening to the podcast. I love that bit where you said about that, and I love this where you said about that. And like, when's the next one out? And that it's like part of their routine now. So
Yeah,
we're trying to build that same thing, aren't we?
I feel like I keep talking to people about like general chit chat,
You could get them up.
and they go, "Oh yeah, I heard that in the podcast." Like if I say something like, "Oh, Ryan bought us these lovely gifts like the other week," and they go, "Oh yeah, I heard that in the podcast." I'm like, "Okay, I've got nothing to speak to you about now." Because you just hear
Killed the convo.
my whole life in the podcast.
Thanks.
That's the case though, it's like, in a weird way, even when we're turning up to weddings and we walk in in the morning, we feel like everyone in that bridal party knows who we are because they've either listened to the podcast or the bride's filled them in on like what we've spoke about. So when we're there, they're always like, "Oh yeah, that you go for the McFlurry, don't you?" After, or McFlurry as people like to say.
No one says McFlurry.
I say McFlurry.
No, I say McFlurry, but who says
Do you say
McFlurry?
McFlurry.
See,
McFlurry.
That's a Paula.
It's not Mick, it's like...
I think
It's a Mc, isn't it?
I think he's probably right, and I'm just common as muck,
Aren't we all?
aren't we all? So is everyone feeling Christmassy? This is a Christmassy room.
Well, right there. I am now.
Get yourself all cozy.
Copyright free.
Christmas.
Little Grinch, yeah.
Grinchy.
Hello.
That's about right for you.
I'm not a Scrooge. I love Christmas. That's why the room's all decorated on the 6th of December. When did you do yours?
What? The 3rd?
3rd, yeah. We done ours like 2 weeks ago.
November.
Nice.
Yeah.
Calm down. Halloween.
Pause.
So, obviously, what we always start with is our weddings of the week.
Yes.
But since it's been, what you said before, about 3 weeks, we'll have our weddings of the weeks.
Weeks.
Plural. Probably not in as much detail, because obviously they get a bit forgotten about. Let's say, cut that.
No, I think what that won't go down well. I think what it is, as you know, when you are doing weddings, each wedding's like, it's like a football team where you live for each match.
One game at a time.
One game at a time.
Yeah.
And then once that wedding's gone, you probably won't come around to that until the editing process, which is always down to like your scheduling or your workload and stuff. So I think after the wedding, sadly, they're not like on the top of your brain. So when we've went a few weeks without doing a podcast, we have had to like sit here a few minutes ago off recording and actually speak about what we've done in them 2 weeks because a lot has happened.
I think as well, even just like leading up to Christmas, it's just such a busy time of year trying to push through your editing, getting back as much as we can before Christmas and also getting in the Christmas spirit. So there's just a lot going on this time of the year to try and remember everything.
And here we are. still recording podcasts, putting it in our busy work.
Still doing this for everyone who listens. Thanks, Mum, Nan, Dad, everyone
No,
else.
And Becky,
We are going to hopefully look for a temporary space, aren't we? But
Yeah.
in the meantime, we'll just use
We won't
our
put
living
any.
room.
We won't put any pressure on producer Matty, who's sat in the corner for a podcast space.
Hi guys.
He's still here. We
you know,
haven't
he's just got a
lost
brand
him.
new blank space that he's not doing currently anything with. We won't put any pressure on that space.
Yeah, we lost the actual podcast studio space, but we didn't lose the producer Matty. We kept hold of him.
Producer Matty is
He's-
invaluable,
he's-
irreplaceable.
He is. He's a gem. But back to, obviously, speaking of weddings of the week. Weeks. Sorry, get that in. Obviously, we always like to talk about them because obviously our brides and grooms from past weddings do listen. So it's nice if their wedding has come and gone. That we don't just miss them off the list and we do give them a little shout out. And the venue and any suppliers that we come across. So, just off the top of me brain.
We go in order.
Go in order.
Yeah.
It was...
So the nice part about going in order is the first wedding that we both did since the last weddings of the week that we spoke about is a wedding that we did together.
Yes.
Which really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does.
Convenient how that works. Poppy and
Kevin!
I was so tempted to shout the Kevin thing, but I don't know whether Kevin would be like,
appreciative.
it happens
I
every
think Kevin
Christmas.
I think Kevin would like that.
Well,
I think he's
no one
he has
like
a
I
great
did.
sense of humour.
Knowing Kevin like we know him, he was even doing the Home Alone reference, weren't he, with
Yeah.
the tip at
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
So, little plug there for you,
Little
Kev.
shout out to the tippers there. Usually the bride's dad's little tip.
Not that we expect any tips, but we're going to start bringing a barcode where it says...
We'll bring that device from the last thing that we
Yeah.
spoke about. We'll leave it on the side. If you want to tip
QR
the,
code.
Yeah, if you want to tip them, just put a little.
But Poppy and Kevin, they got married at the Doubletree in Chester, which is a stunning venue.
Doubletree by Hilton, Josh.
Sorry, what did I say?
You did say that,
Doubletree in
Doubletree in
Chester.
Chester.
Yeah, I just missed off
That's
the
how
Hilton
we'd
there.
say it, but they say it like.
It's nice to clarify the full title of the brand or the business.
Shout out Doubletree by Hilton.
That's his first of the week. Podcast even, first of the week. You can tell it's been a few weeks since we
I
did the
know.
podcast.
We're all rusty.
We're really rusty. But yeah, stunning day. I think I say this was everyone's wedding. I've never ever said, it's been a terrible day. No, it was gorgeous. Giving off the winter vibes again. It was like probably the first wedding that I felt like, especially
Winter setting.
when we went out for the nighttime shoot.
Yes, I was just about to say.
It gave us that like winter vibes, didn't
Yeah,
it?
because it was it wasn't snowing, which one of our weddings did recently, but it was that like rainy, crispy, sleety like type of feel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It did feel very winter based.
And they were a gorgeous little family. There was a lot of like, obviously, including their kids, wasn't there? Am I on the right track here?
Yeah,
Yes. Could we
yeah,
just
they
do a
are
little
kids.
shout out to someone who we seen as soon as we got there in
I
the
feel like
morning
we have
time?
a few shout outs. I feel like we work with some
Bethan was there,
suppliers.
wasn't he? Alicia was there.
Yeah, Bethan, Hair by Bethan.
Hair by Bethan.
Alicia doing the makeup, and then also we met Mimi Bell Events, who dressed the
Mimi
room.
Bell Events. Shout out
Like-
Mimi Bell Events, your first one.
Yeah.
Fell in love.
She was absolutely hysterical.
Yeah,
like,
she's definitely coming on the podcast.
she is definitely on the podcast.
She
I'm
is.
mentioning, obviously, Beth. Beth was meant to be our next guest. I'm going to say it. She was meant to be
Yeah,
our
she
next
was.
guest on the podcast. But due to, obviously, the podcast studio being no longer, it just basically put a cancel to her coming on currently. But she is definitely pending still to come on. And we cannot wait to get her on because she is, again, so funny. Lots of stories and got so much advice for any brides who are needing any hair doing and styles, etc. Not that I have any clue about hair.
You can tell by the way you've just addressed
I've
that.
done something
Hair
this
doing.
morning. But yeah, there was a lot of supply. It's nice when you go to a wedding and you see loads of suppliers that you
And
know,
the
because
list, innit?
I think we said this on another podcast, I think, but for a bride or a groom, I don't know how it must feel when your suppliers, when they turn up, they all sort of link. They all know each other.
Makes
I
sense,
think
doesn't it?
also for us as well, when you see familiar faces, you can kind of relax a bit in the sense that you know things are going to be done and you know things are going to run on time, and like you don't need to worry about like hair and makeup being done on time because you know you can trust them suppliers.
Well, I think it makes it easier for us to communicate as a full oiled team, isn't it? Because if you work with people, or if you work with people that if you're not used to working with them in the past, it causes slight like link breaks in that chain. Whereas if everyone gets on, there's not a problem for us just going, hey, like that other one that we did the other week, you know, that where you paused and then you did the touch-ups later, for example, for makeup. That
Yeah.
works. It's a well-oiled thing.
Yeah.
And also I feel like we always like make sure that hair and makeup like get their pictures as well, because it's so
100%.
important for them to get their own pictures. As much as we will take like footage all day, we won't move like every single strand of hair into the perfect place, and it's important for them to get their shots.
I must admit, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I've noticed like some hair and makeup girls, I'm not nervous to ask us, but I can see they're hesitant to take them photos because they feel like we're gonna go, what are you doing? You're taking our time away from, you know, filming or taking photos and stuff. So when I see them doing that, I'm always like, no, like that's your work. And it's same for people who dress the room. I'm always like, listen, on the day, this is your work, this is how you promote yourself. Take the photos that you need because it's necessary. And I think the reason why they're like that is because they're dealing with other suppliers. This isn't like me trying to knock out the photographers and videographers out there, because I get our job is very, very important on the day to capture memories and moments that are happening, and time can be crucial in terms of like the turnaround. You might only have like 10 minutes with the bride after she's in the dress to get some nice window shots of her, but I still feel like you've got to give someone who's just been working on it for the amount of time to just take a few snaps for their
Social presence,
socials.
isn't it?
Yeah. And it's nice even
Or
like
the TikToks.
well, yeah, because
They love to do that, don't they?
it's nice. Yeah, they actually teach us. To be fair, I must admit, Beth in particular has given us a run for our money in terms of staging the brides up. She's really, really good.
Yeah.
Well, I
at
noticed that
posing.
because she, out of a lot of people, talks about things like light and like temperature of the room and stuff like that. It's like she's really onto it. I think more people are getting that way, but for me, she was one of the ones that just stood out straight away.
And before we do move on from speaking about that, my mind just went completely blank. I think it's good. That's come back to me. It's good. I know,
It's
yeah.
quick. Didn't go far, that did it? Not a lot of space
It
in
was
there.
a lie. It was a lie. No,
Not a lot of
it's,
space in there.
I feel like when we are talking about stuff like this and people who are getting married, because obviously that's what this podcast is all about, really, for people who are planning a wedding, who want to see like the inside scoop. So basically, I would say that's something that would happen of a morning when you've just either finished getting your hair done or finished getting your makeup done. Them suppliers probably will ask you for a photo of their work. I know it's your face, but it's still their work.
Yeah.
And we'll probably maybe standing around waiting for our chance to get a shot of it. Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah, that's the norm, isn't it?
I actually quite like it sometimes when you can see them and they're taking a picture in like a corner of a room, something where it's quite dark and whatever, and then you just move them slightly to the shot that we would get in front of some nice window light, or like change the background maybe or whatever, and then their shots look better because of our... That's that interlocking thing, isn't it?
I think it's good to work with people like that and bounce off one another with ideas and stuff.
I do.
So, in terms of that wedding, before we move on to the next, I'm in my head.
We're going to be here a while.
I know, I thought that, like, we've got
Let's not do
done
that
one
for every
out of
single
five.
one.
But I still feel like there's a lot of other suppliers. The A-Press lads were there as well.
The A-Fred lads were there.
Do you know what I mean? Johnny and Tom.
Yeah.
So it's nice to give everyone a little shout out. You haven't give them a shout out.
Shout out A-Prez music.
There's probably others, but
There's lots from other weddings. So obviously the next wedding was Annie's.
For you.
For us? Or do you have another one in between?
I had another one in
Let's
between.
skip that one, because we weren't there.
I'm actually having to refer back to my notes to make sure that I do them in a specific order. But before I had Annie's on the 25th, I had Kate and Callum's on the 24th, on the Friday.
Incoming monologue from
At-
Ryan.
No, I won't. I will keep it brief. At Hawkstone Hall.
Wow.
What a,
Yeah.
what a place
Alright,
to be
let's
there.
talk about it.
No, I'm not going to talk about it in too much detail, but when I found out, or when I was chosen to do this wedding, I was excited before I even, like, got there. Because I'd only ever been to Hawkstone Hall before as a second shooter for you. So I have limited creative direction on the day, let's just call it that, because I'm, like, third in line. So photographer first, possibly you second to some degree-ish.
With a team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I mean, that's how it goes typically, isn't it?
Okay.
Photographers lead the day. Anyway. So I didn't put a lot in there. That's how it works. You can't deny that that's the case.
Ryan leads on the day.
All right. All right.
I'm joking. We're all a team, aren't we?
Yeah. But when I clicked onto that venue, I was like, yeah, that's a stunner. And then when I seen the couple, you probably see, if you haven't seen, go on Roll and Stop Photography Shop or Roll and Stop on Instagram. Callum and Kate, mind
Yeah,
blowing.
the photos were
Mind
unbelievable.
blowing.
I remember.
I still haven't been to Hawkstone Hall. Like,
You are
You
missing.
are missing
we
out.
have
Missing
been obviously
out.
as a company, but it's always been Josh with either yourself or Matty.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't
just
make
first
it.
shout out for Hawkstone Hall, apart from the bride and groom, Lily at Hawkstone Hall, the
Yeah.
wedding planner. She's not a wedding planner, is she? coordinator on the day is...
I think she's more than a coordinator, though. She does
Right out
she
there.
goes above and beyond. She's one of them people where when you turn up on the day, you walk away, and as you just said then, you remember her. I know that's not trying to knock other venues, but when you've got someone like Lily running the show on the day, you know the difference, don't you? You can tell the difference.
You feel the difference, not only from the bride. My bride and groom might not get it because obviously that's only the wedding day they've ever been orchestrated.
Yeah.
But from our point of view, you can tell them a mile off the ones who are like really, really good at it and the ones who aren't.
Yeah.
And she was not only so like precise on the timings and on the couple and their wants and needs, on us as well.
Yeah.
On me, she kept on following me around, basically saying, "No, right, do you need anything? Do you want a drink? Do you want to?" And that goes a long way for us because that makes us feel more comfortable, which makes us more.
Well,
whatever that is on the day.
Out of all the suppliers on the day, we're the longest ones who are there for, and also we're pretty much dealing with the couple first hand. So I feel like a coordinator. This is a good start. We've got a drill going on next door.
That's what happens when you do your podcast from
home. In your house, yeah.
Next door getting work done.
Shout out builders.
Shout out Denise next door. Thanks for getting the work done. But yeah, it helps massively when you have got someone like, you know, a coordinator like Lily who's basically, as you say, looking after you. So shout out to all the coordinators.
And Alicia at makeup was there again. Alicia.
You just following each other around?
I feel like we are. That was like the 5th time in like 4 weeks or something.
So wedding number 3 was Annie and Paul, which was obviously just you two guys filming.
So together, wasn't it?
Just one videographer. So
Friends,
tell us about
Mel's Hall.
That's
the venue.
Another boss place.
that. Is that right? Mel's?
Well,
I put it Mills.
This was the debate. Shout out Mel's or Meals Hall.
Meals.
Whichever one you are. Can you clarify, please?
Get in touch, please.
None of us know. Everyone throughout the day was all talking like, is it... I only said Mel's because of a person who I used to date back in the day, years ago, before I was married. And she was from a place over the water called Mel's.
We'll bleep that bit out. Becky, don't you worry,
the exact same way. So that's why I say Mel's. But it might be Meals because even the wedding registrar said Meals.
So if she's saying it,
Yeah,
then we have
she
to follow
must
her.
Come down that way and all that.
Yeah.
How was the wedding anyway?
Do you know what? It was brilliant, and I say this most every wedding, and say it's brilliant because I feel, I say
Every wedding is brilliant.
no, but I feel like since the start of this year in particular, I feel like every wedding just seemed to be like smooth. I'm not saying the ones years ago, never. I just don't know. Something just feels different this year about weddings in particular. I feel like the COVID years were a little bit up and down. Some weddings were like normal, some still weren't. But this year just feels like a really normal year now. Weddings, solid.
Everyone's just doing what they need to do when it's needed to be done.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
Everyone had that little reset, didn't
But it was one of them days where I turned up again in the morning, didn't know any of the makeup girls.
No.
Knew the hair girls though from Charlie and Kieran's wedding. They recognised me before I recognised them.
Yeah.
But I think because on that morning it was an intimate setup, so we didn't really have a conversation. But it was nice to see them. But I knew the bridesmaid Kim from back in the day. She was Sophie Keaton's friend.
I was going to say, was she...
She's not someone I used to date.
Was she someone from Mel's as well?
All the birds back in Mel's. You know what I mean?
Just talking about our past lives.
But yeah, it was nice to see a familiar face in the morning. So straight away, you just feel like you're part of the family then, don't you? Yeah. But bless him, Paul, the groom, before the ceremony kicked off, he was looking a bit nervy.
Green.
Yeah.
Pick that Grinch up.
He was looking...
That colour.
Not as bad as that, like, but yeah, he looked nervous. And it was nice to sort of, as we always do, go over to the group and give our, like, 10p worth of advice to sort of...
Lads to lads.
Yeah. Because we're quite... as like wet as it sounds, we are a little bit like sensitive, aren't we, when it comes to people's feelings?
Me?
No,
Both of us.
I cry at everything.
No, but I'm saying we can sort of put ourselves in their shoes, yeah? Where some lads can just
we
be...
have good empathy for
some
it.
lads can just be like, like, bit of banter. We can just sort of come right down and be like, it's fine.
We're good at mirroring, aren't we? Very good at it.
Definitely. And as I say this, I've been saying this more and more recently, which is a little bit, you know, it's coming out copyright. What am I trying to make? I'm not slogans for myself, honest to God. I keep saying to grooms.
Josh's dictionary.
Josh's one-liners.
Could be Josh's world.
It's gotta be. I keep saying to grooms at the moment, the minute she gets down the aisle, the weight will just fall off you.
Yeah, I keep on noticing things that you say
I do,
almost
don't
so
I?
now that I like turn to you when certain things
Yeah.
happen because I know what's coming type of thing.
I've got.
Always only goes, make sure you put your veil on the bottom of your dress so it doesn't pull. You'd always say that.
I'm trying to look out for.
I
Putting
know,
these
but-
phrases, isn't he?
Listen, I'm trying to look out for our brides and grooms.
No, I know.
You know, that's part of being a supplier, not just a videographer. People first.
Person
Person
first, case
Trying to
second.
trying to help them out. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I always say to the groom is just, don't worry. The minute she gets down or he gets down, the weight will just fall off your shoulders.
And it does, to be
It
fair.
does.
And you can see that from our eyes when it actually happens as well.
Yeah. So the next part that I was going to speak about, Annie and Paul's wedding day, can actually relate to someone's question that they've sent in. If you're happy for me to
I'm
do
happy
that.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
feel like we've got a lot to cover, so
We
we're
have.
just trying to.
and I
get
do
through it as
apologise
best
for anyone
as
who's
possible.
watching or listening to this who's thinking, just get to that part.
Yeah.
We just
We'll
need-
get there. The
we
flurries
will.
were bought,
We will.
alright, shut up.
So this is a question from a bride-to-be who's booked us for film. Sorry, Ryan. But she's put, as suppliers, do you expect a meal on the day? That's it. But she's
But yeah, I was waiting for the extra bit there.
no, because what she's put is, as suppliers, do you expect a meal on the day? Don't worry, you're all booked in for ours.
That's nice of them.
So-
So I think that is the actual
Because,
answer, isn't it?
well, that's the thing, because Annie and Paul's, not trying to, this is not a thing for caterers who work for wedding venues or for bride and grooms think that this is what we expect. It just popped into my head, we got a 3-course meal.
We did, yeah.
So, firstly, to the question though, we never expect
No,
to be fed.
expectations
Never.
are not there.
Yeah.
I think it's worth saying that
nice
there
though,
there are people out there. It is nice, yeah.
We
if
will
you want
get
it.
to that.
There is people out there though that will request
Course.
and expect,
Yeah.
and to some degree, rightly so, because if you're working in such a remote location,
Yeah.
which a lot of these venues are, especially the Cheshire ones, there's nowhere to just run the shop or whatever.
Yeah.
So you've got to pre-plan whether you're getting a meal or not, to take your own pack lunch, blah, blah, blah. So the expectation is not there from us, which is where we stand a little bit different.
Yeah.
Ideally, you always want to be in the venue, like within meters away from the bride and groom when they're having their meal, just
Yeah.
in case anything spontaneous can happen,
Yeah.
which can happen.
does
Someone
happen.
can get up, do a speech, or anything can happen.
Please
where
do not do
need-
that though, because
you need to be there.
we need to be set up and stuff. But it does happen, and I feel like you are right in saying that. Like, I think in the early days, there's been times where, unfortunately, I just weren't getting a meal or whatever it was, and I was in the middle of nowhere, and it was that case of like, as I always say to you, an empty stack can't stand by itself, and I've had to go over to the couple, and say, I'm gonna have to go off site and just go and get
Go and get yourself
food.
something.
So just do not do anything without me. And that's sometimes, I think, why the venues probably say to the couples when they're booking the venue,
Do you want it?
do you want to get a supplier meal to save that from happening? I just thought it'd be a good one to answer. And
Yeah.
thanks, Lauren, for sending in the question.
Yeah.
Really appreciate
Thanks, Lauren.
it.
Shout out, Lauren.
Shout out,
So
Lauren.
the boss question.
never expected, but always really, really appreciated.
Lovely.
is our
Perfect way to round that off,
Yeah.
I think.
Next wedding
Next wedding
of the
wedding?
weeks,
Of the weeks,
of the week.
what did you do after that?
Chloe and Tim's.
Chloe and Tim's. What day was that on? Because we were trying to do it on an order
That was
basis.
this
It was
week,
this week.
wasn't it? Well, last Thursday.
Oh, Chloe and Tim. Oh, we did that
Chloe
one
and
together
Tim,
as well. Yeah.
Hey, the joint package is
We're doing
actually
all right.
working.
And wait there,
wait
wait there,
there.
wait there.
Oh,
Where was it?
I knew we were going to go to that.
Where was it?
Yeah, it was at West Tower.
Some place, West Tower or something. There.
Which we are now officially recommended suppliers at West Tower.
You shut the cat out the water. No, yeah, we are.
I think for us, we've worked at West Tower for so long, and anyone who's planning a wedding, who's booked West Tower or is in the process of looking for a venue, not trying to just put them at the top of our list because now we've got a working relationship with them. But I think for a while, West Tower for us, or well, I'll speak on behalf of myself, really. West Tower for me has always been like,
Stands out, doesn't it?
yeah, it's being a standout venue in terms of like where if I was looking for a venue myself, it'd be on my list. Unfortunately, it can't be on my list because my brother got married there last year.
Well, wait for it, because you're not even engaged, Josh.
Oh,
Tell him about that bit.
Yeah, we will.
Well,
We'll get on to
that was another question someone sent in. Georgia, my friend Georgia, she's messaged, when are you going to put a ring on it? Can you just back off, please? getting sensitive now about this sort of stuff. Can you see me eye twitching? I'm shaking! But yeah, Chloe and Tim's wedding at West Tower. What
That's it.
a day. And I think, again, for the winter vibes of it all, this we're coming on to this weekend now, really, aren't we? Last weekend, sorry.
Yeah.
It was the perfect weekend for that winter wedding vibe. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better weekend for all our couples that we captured, because it just, you know...
Winter sunsets.
That
Frosted
sunset,
grass.
that sunset, frosted grass, backdrop venue, the lock.
Bit of
it had it
snow
all.
as well
Yeah.
in one of them.
With Chloe and Tim's wedding, I feel like I want to touch on it, because I think, even though, obviously, I'm just trying to think of, like, specific moments that happen on these particular days, because we have got a lot of weddings to go through. Yeah. And I feel like with Chloe and Tim's, what really stood out to me was her dad not being there, in a way that, obviously, he's no longer with us, but how she incorporated him into the day still. Yeah. And I feel like people who are getting married, who sadly may lose someone in the process of planning it, it feels like how they incorporate them into the wedding. And I think she did it, like, probably one of the best ways I've seen it.
Immaculately, wasn't it, actually? So well thought out, so well planned, and so meaningful as well, and we were fortunate enough to be able to capture it for it, which was good.
And I think for us, when you're capturing moments like that, you know, no matter, even though they weren't there, them moments that have happened in the day, they're going to look back on, and they're going to be the moments they're actually looking for as well, to see how their dad is still incorporated in the day. And again, they had obviously 2 beautiful kids, very character. I think all kids on wedding days are just characters. They never seem to disappoint me at all. They're always doing something where you're just like, yeah, I'd love to be a kid again.
Being a kid.
Yeah, basically. And obviously the day itself, you know, Chloe and Tim's, it was perfect.
Yeah, ran by another brilliant coordinator on the day, our mate Kim.
Kim, yeah.
Shout out Kim, she's a right girl.
I feel like the more I speak about West Tower and Kim, I feel like I'm going to be so biased towards them, because they are amazing and they really look after us on the day.
Just feels like
home from home, I've always said, with West Tower.
It is, to be fair.
I'm trying to think what else happened.
I was trying to think about something in Chloe and Tim's, but I can't remember. It was one of the page boys when she done the reveal to the bridesmaids and the page boys.
Oh, he was brilliant, Tim. He was on
hilarious.
form,
I
wasn't
can't even remember
he?
what
He
he
had you
said.
off.
Is that the kid that had me off
Yeah.
20 times?
He was so
When I walked in and walked past it, there's just, I don't know if you've seen this, but I walked past this kid, and like obviously just trying to build that relationship with these kids so they don't feel weird about us being there. And I walked past him, went to give him like a little bit of a fist bump, and his answer back to it was, and it's the way that he says it, I don't know you, but okay. I was like, this kid just had me off.
Kids ruthless.
Boss
Kids
him.
are ruthless though, aren't they, to be fair?
Got no filter, have they?
No.
When he seen Chloe in a dress, I think his mum said, oh, doesn't she look gorgeous? And he went, well, you can say that.
He was about 48 in like a
So
8-year-old's
funny.
body.
Any comedy stores anywhere up and down the country looking for a little young comedian, I think
He's on your list.
naturally born.
I'm telling you.
And then obviously, if you want to move on to the next wedding,
Why, what wedding was that?
well, we had one in between actually, didn't we?
Come on.
Yeah, we did. Abby and Matt at Coleshaw Hall.
Coleshaw Hall, Abby and Matt, what a day again. Same again.
Working with Sandra and Steve.
Sandra and Steve, little shout out to them. They are listeners to the podcast. They give us a little mention. They asked, where's the next episode? So
Well, here it is.
Here it is. Yeah, it's nice, again, obviously when we don't work with Ryan all the time, because obviously he's a photographer, we're videographers, on the day when you're booking your wedding, things, you know, our schedules don't always match,
Sadly.
just unfortunately, and that means we do work with other suppliers, i.e. other photographers, and Sandra and Steve being one of them. And I've even said to them, because with this podcast, for anyone who's listening who wants to hear from other videographers' mouths and other photographers' mouths, I said they are, for me, probably someone I would get on, because we do work with them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're so lovely.
They're so nice, and I feel like they would just give a different insight. And I think, because I don't know whether you have got different, I think you have got probably different photography styles, would you say?
Yeah.
Who?
You. The photographer sat in the corner like that.
Sorry, I was just got a message off my wife, and it was about Effie's, who's obviously my youngest kids.
On a podcast, yeah.
What did they call it? Where they do like the checks?
Like in like the little red book. Like
Yeah,
a 2
in
year
the little
check.
red book, the little
Health
check
visitors.
things. Health visitors was around ours, and Becky's just giving
Breaking
us to
news.
say.
Let's hear the news.
No, she just said, all went okay with a check, and just said, speech is lovely, she's coming on well, blah, blah, blah. But I was interested in it, sorry, that's why I was a bit
No, that makes
disengaged.
complete sense. That makes complete
Family
sense.
related, but yeah, we all have different styles as photographers.
Kids.
And you say to me loads of times how my style is so different and diverse to other people's and someone like that.
Yeah. So I think that's why I wanted to get other suppliers on, i.e. Sandra and Steve, to give their input on how they approach the day from their photography style point of view. And Abby and Matt's day, again, Ian the Toastmaster, what a guy. I can't praise him enough for Toastmaster wise.
When's he on?
Well, he's another one, isn't he? Like, we do need other suppliers on, so I think Toastmaster being one.
Toastmaster,
Whether
so.
Ian would want to come on, because
I think Ian may come on as if we were fortunate enough to be able to go to Cultural Hall.
I think he'd do it there.
And he could give us a little
Cultural
tour, just
Hall.
putting it out there.
No pressure.
He could give us a little tour. I think in
Sorry
the...
to interrupt as well, we've got the setup now. You can go anywhere.
There we go.
As mentioned earlier on, and Matty's just mentioned then, this is all
This is
ours. So we can go
Hours.
anywhere and do a podcast on, which is quite cool. I even mentioned it to my mum this morning, saying bridal shops that are out there were coming for you. Because Ryan wants to try one of your dresses on.
Well, we have got a
should we go
bridal
to
shop,
some
haven't we, that we are?
jewellers?
Natalie Brides.
Ashley Brides.
They're keen to come on.
What are you saying?
I said, should we go to some jewellers?
Why am I
You just walk right
Get
into
some ring
that.
ties, isn't
Oh,
it?
like, that's how like away with the fairies I am. I'm like, go on, love,
wait there.
say your bit.
That's how close you are to getting that ring. He's not even on it.
Didn't even swig. That's how much pressure's not on me. Yeah, it was a fantastic day, and Ian Toastmaster was brilliant on the day. And we as I say, we had that golden hour. I think last weekend, word of like portraits. Because obviously on a wedding day with the couple, there will come a time when you two go off for your photos, where you need to obviously get your shots as well as your group shots and everything else, all your candidates and stuff. There will come a time when it's just you two, and I feel like I've just went around the world explaining this, but it was the best golden hour we've had all year, I think.
Wow, balls.
It was. I
That's
think
the
it was.
Chloe and Tim's?
But I'm saying the weekend itself.
Oh, the weekend.
I
Yes.
think in the winter you lose the sun that quick, and every single time we've just got it perfectly.
Yeah.
Winter sun's always better. We said that onto them, didn't we? Because in the summer, the sun's so high, it's so direct, and it's hot, blinding, and annoying from a photo standpoint or creator standpoint. Let's just say you want the sun to be out because obviously you don't want it to be raining, but it's too much. Whereas winter sun is just right.
This is the funny thing about when you're at a wedding day though, and it's like scorching hot, harsh sunlight, and there's always that uncle who goes, "Hey mate, perfect light for you. This is the perfect light."
Definitely not.
And you're thinking, "Nah, mate, it's genuinely not."
The camera's literally roasting us at the end.
Battery to temperature can't cope. So if you want to move on, and I feel like at this point now I'm literally just trying to run through these weddings, which is fair too. So
Last one.
we haven't
Last
missed
one.
off. We are trying to mention everybody.
Last one, and what a one. The Loves.
The Loves. What a name you could
Best surname ever.
you could have to get married with anyway.
Brilliant.
But yeah,
Bethan and Nikki.
Bethan and Nikki.
Mrs. and Mrs. Love.
Mrs. and Mrs. What a 2023 wedding that was.
It was gorgeous.
That was a wedding that for a while we'd met these two at other weddings, so we kept having this like rapport with them. So we were going to other weddings, capturing them, and they were guests, and we were always going, "Oh my god, use next." And then all of a sudden it came around.
Actually, we're next.
Yeah, exactly. You are next. And we captured it on Sunday, and was it Saturday?
Saturday.
That's how well I am knowing the days of the week. Yeah, it was just from start to finish. It was just memorable for so many different reasons. The pair of them were just.
Infatuated.
I can find the word to
I felt like
describe
I was
the pair of
just
them.
smiling all day. It was just so lovely.
There was so much love in the air.
Yeah. Loves.
Loves.
And I'm trying to think of like specific points that happened. I think the speeches is one of them.
Speeches stand out for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
For me,
Nikki's speech specifically.
Yeah.
Both dads did the speech, didn't he?
and they were off the charts.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
One of them on their own would have been brilliant.
Yeah.
But when I thought, wow, he's going to have a tough act to follow there
Yeah.
when the first half of the speech. And then he got up and did just as good a speech. And I thought, I feel sly on Nicky now. So he's going to do a speech. And then Ayers just blew both of them on the water.
His speech was unbelievable.
Well, in the morning, which was great for us, she was still like, she was basically, it was already written down, but she wanted to write it like more neatly on
Rewritten.
smaller cards. And we were capturing her doing that, which was, I think, for a story point of view, it's just brilliant.
Yeah, lovely.
But then seeing her perform it in a way, not perform it, actually tell what the words were to all the guests and stuff was just why am I tired of me? I try and probably describe this in like a more technical way, but all it was she was standing there speaking from the heart, essentially. Yeah.
It was so deep and meaningful what she said. I think even you nearly had a tear.
I must admit,
the coldest, the coldest of the three. Let's just say.
I think I probably am the coldest of the three. Not that my family would agree with that. I'm probably the most sensitive out of my family, but out of us three, I'm the least sensitive. And there was about 3 or 4 times, and that's a lot. From a speech point of
I
view.
literally had to clench my bum cheeks together and be like, stop, because I thought I was going to like
There's still a wedding
sob.
Can you pop this bottle?
Too far.
I know, cut that bit out. Beth mum listens to this. But speaking of clenching your bum cheeks together though.
Where's this going?
No, but genuinely, this is advice that gets given out to brides on the wedding day. And you might not have heard this, but we've heard it plenty of times, haven't we? That's where you got it from, weren't it?
Yeah.
The bit of like advice.
If you feel like you're going to cry.
Yeah, clench your bum cheeks together.
And
Not that-
it worked for me.
Well, I didn't
On
try it.
Saturday.
I just had to say to myself, get a grip when it was happening. Because obviously I was like, she's not talking about you, she's talking about the wife. Just pack it in.
It's not about you today.
Not about you. It's not Josh's world.
Yeah.
And we even got snow on their wedding.
Oh, the snowfall.
Snow.
The snow for me was like the pinnacle of a perfect winter day.
Yeah,
It wasn't it? Really? Yeah. And it was the way that the snow fell, where it fell, the venue, which we haven't even mentioned.
Nunsmere Hall.
Shout out Nunsmere.
Yeah.
What a venue, what a place well in. Use it all right, use.
I do events.
I do events. Save
yeah.
it. Shout out I do events.
I do events. Basically made the story even more magical the way it looked aesthetically. And I think when you're in the marquee bit of Nunsmere and you were looking out and it was all frozen over, the snow was falling. It was like one of them films where they look out the window and they go, and it's just like Christmassy.
It's dropping.
Yeah.
It made you feel dead Christmassy, I think.
Yeah.
Especially when they had all the Christmas stuff up. And they were fans themselves of Christmas, weren't they? Which made it all the more special.
I think it let us as well be a little bit more like, oh my God, because some weddings you go to around winter, they go, it's not Christmas. So I feel like if you are a bride or a groom planning a wedding around the winter period, make it clear, either make it clear that you don't want it to be Christmassy or step right into it.
Yeah.
Step into Christmas.
Yeah, sorry, we had to do that.
Matty, it's a good job you were here. Felt so alone there.
But it was just set up on the tee, that one, weren't it? But
it
did. I think you have, as a bride and groom, if you are planning a wedding around winter, there's a few bit of advice that we can give. So expect the light to go quicker when it comes to your photos. So have an earlier ceremony, let's say, or just prepare for the darker night to come in earlier.
Yep.
Prepare for Christmas maybe being a theme or being around the venues, because nearly every venue that we went to had a Christmas tree up or Christmas trees. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, I had to ask that question. Do you want those trees in the background or not? Because some people don't want to remember their day as being Christmas themed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, of
so
course.
like the wedding that we did, I don't know when it was it Annie's? She said like, just get that tree out of shop and like the tinsel that was on the fireplace and that. She's like, don't get that in.
Yeah, she did.
But she didn't want it to be remembered for that time of year. She just wanted to remember the wedding, which is fine.
Yeah. They still love the idea of it being like frosted over and a winter day, but just not Christmas related at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely. Boss, that was a
nice round. We tried to make it quick. It was probably about the 30-minute section of
I know.
There's been 5 weddings in 3 weeks. Do you know what I mean?
We had to give everyone a shout out. We probably have missed a few people off. And I'm sorry if we have. And if we have, get in touch and let us know, and we'll write a list down for next week's episode, and we'll actually give you a shout out. Well, Ryan will. It's his favourite bit.
Shout out to everyone.
So our topic of the week this week is rolls.
Rolls. Not roll and stop.
Sausage rolls.
Job rolls, we just call them. Job rolls in weddings. Positions in weddings.
It's a bracket, isn't it, really? It's a tree branches off.
What do you think rolls is?
Rolls to me is like maids of honours, bridesmaids, best men, groomsmen.
And expectations
those kinds of
from
roles.
those
Flower
people.
girls, page boys.
Wow, you're going a bit broad. Do you think flower girls and page boys should do anything with?
Well, they do stuff, don't they? They always have the ring security box, or they throw the petals out, so I suppose.
Right, maybe
they have a role.
They have a role, but they don't.
They're important.
There's no trust involved.
They're always mentioned in speeches.
True.
So
they are actually.
And also, we've seen a flower boy or man, shall we say. He was a full-on grown man who walked down the aisle and threw petals.
I love the way you described that. And by the way, Matty was at this wedding with me. weren't you?
No, it wasn't. It was
Oh,
me.
you? Me from a point like you. It was me and Patty.
It was me.
I know, yeah, it was me and Beth, and oh my god,
It
was the
was.
funniest
It was
thing.
a full-on grown
Did
man.
he like embrace it?
He did embrace it. What did he do? So was it unwritten?
Standing at the blank page before
And he was
you
throwing the
open
pedals.
proper went
It was
for it.
outside in West Tower.
Is it like
And he
one
was
of those
like taking
things you
his
see
jacket
on
off
a?
and all that,
Is
wasn't
it one
he?
of them things you see on like a viral video? where
Yeah,
it's
it
all-
was.
I think
Honestly,
if we
brilliant.
actually released the video from it, which I think we should at
I
some
think we
point,
should, you know.
it would go viral because he was an entertainer.
Went for it.
Was.
Yeah, Jacket was getting launched. You know, people were taking clothes. Nah, I'm joking. But
Josh is unbuttoned.
I was getting excited. But that couple in particular, I don't want to go off topic, but they were legends. I'd get them on.
Yeah.
The podcast.
But back
Shout
to the
out.
Bethany and Taylor.
There you go. But yeah, roles.
So yeah, they had a man who was
Yeah.
the flower man.
Flower man.
What other roles are they, Beth?
Also, when you said ring bearers, I was thinking, you know, your normal ring bearers are normally like page boys
Yeah.
or best men or sometimes even owls. We've seen an owl.
Peckfort and Castle, we've seen it.
I've
Owl.
Deliver
I've said
rings.
owl, but I've never.
I
witnessed-
wouldn't put trust in owls, me. Like,
We've seen it though.
sorry for any businesses
Don't
out
trust
there.
an army. Don't trust an owl. Don't
Wait,
don't trust them as far as I can throw them.
If it's a snowy owl and his name's Hedwig, I would trust it with my life. But
Sorry, I was watching Harry Potter last night and seeing Hedwig die. And it really made me sad.
gone too soon.
Anyway,
Can we
moving
stop
on.
the podcast? I'm joking. But yeah, that's a preference thing, innit?
Yeah.
With the owls.
You know what I would love to see though? Like a dog doing them. I feel like I'm a real dog
Why haven't we
person.
seen
No.
I
Because we
know.
see dogs at weddings,
Dogs
but they
are
don't
there.
do that
Dogs
part.
all the time. And I've seen dogs come up the aisle when they've been signed
Yeah, I
arrested
have.
and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe if Matty pops a question to Lucy one day, you know, we might
Yeah.
see.
Bailey.
The pressure's been. Josh is like, yeah. Let's talk about Matty getting engaged. Takes the to shine off.
Bailey will definitely be involved in my wedding.
There we go.
Yeah.
So Lucy, who knows? But
Oh! 1, 2,
Lucy
hisses.
wouldn't have that girl.
Knockouts. But yeah, roles. What do you think roles are?
I think roles are not expectations, but things that people should do, which is a very blanket statement, I know. But like we said about their role of a page boy is to like bring the rings, role of a flower girl, throw the flowers out, or just look boss, which typically they do. Roles are also
Get away with murder.
important. Get away with murder. Roles are also important to the structure of how that day feels to us, the structure of how that day, most importantly, feels to the couple.
Yeah.
Like, people need to step up into said roles,
Yeah.
and deliver where possible. Like, obviously, head bridesmaids specifically, usually their role is to like look after the bride and her look of that day. Once
Yeah.
she's like got all the makeup on, you can weigh in on us, Beth, heavily, because I know
Yeah.
obviously that's your area because you are a lady. But you do it as well, don't you? Like, and then we have a role which we'll get onto in a sec. But roles for me are things that people should do to make that day flow. That's what a role is to me, and that could be anybody. Everyone has a role, whether it be a guest turning up to make sure they have a good time,
Yeah.
not coming at it from a negative point of view, whether it be the venue, supplying, whatever at the same time,
Yeah.
that's a role.
And I think from a bride and groom point of view who are planning your wedding, these are the things that you've got to think about who you choose, or, you know, even if you wanted to put the feels out there to like guests and stuff, you know, if it's a theme or, you know, I don't want to go too in depth with what I'm trying to get across. Is basically what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is when you're picking your bridesmaids, when you're picking your groomsmen, make sure they know what their role is. Because
ideally.
some people who have never been to a wedding before just think they're putting a suit on, they're putting their dress on, and they just go about the wedding day. And that's sometimes, majority of the time, is the case. But if you're the bride and you're the groom and you've got expectations from them, let them know. Otherwise...
Sometimes we see it where another bridesmaid who's not chief bridesmaid say, will do the chief bridesmaid role.
Yes.
That happens a lot.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's all down to the bride's preference, and same for the groom's preference. If they need, you know, a lot of support around them, if the dress is too big, because we've had it before when we've took the couple off for portraits, and a bridesmaid came along to help the bride.
But
Not
that is also not that often. That doesn't happen
I know.
that often that bridesmaids come and help. I'm not saying that they should come and help because we are quite happily to like do it ourselves.
We've got Beth.
Yeah.
She's good
Yeah.
at it.
Beth.
I'll fix
She's
your
putting it
dress
up
and
her.
your hair and everything.
That's one thing I think, and I've always said this from like a supplier's point of view, and this is not knocking us males, but I think having female suppliers,
Ladies touch.
they definitely have a touch, and they definitely know how to like make sure the bride is feeling the top.
Bridal.
Yeah, and even the groom as well. You just know when it looks the part, don't you? You just have that like.
Yeah, like I've taken brides to the toilet before when bridesmaids haven't been around. Like, oh, can you just take me to the
Yeah.
toilet? So I do like.
How was
they,
that?
That's like random.
Tell us how you feel about that.
Tell us a bit more, Beth.
I'm happy to help.
Listen.
No, but I think obviously the bridesmaids have their roles, but then also they want to enjoy themselves as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So there's a fine line, isn't there?
And then I think with parents as well, and this is something that I always feel like some parents can stress out their children more by being overpowering.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're just not there, non-existent. But they are there in the day, but they just don't interfere, or, you know, they're very laid back people, and that they're okay with that, the brides and grooms. So I think it is just like how I've just said it then. Basically, it's down to the bride and groom what they want. If they want people to get involved and like expecting people to help, let them know. And if you're happy to just go alone and just have them stand in when they need to, then go
Yeah, I
that way
think
with
that's
it.
just the perfect way to round it up. Is if the bride and groom or the couple wants something from their people who have roles, they should just make sure that they're aware. A lot of couples print off itineraries, don't they?
Yeah.
They're like, this is what you need to do. You need to go check the wedding breakfast room at 10 a.m. in the morning, make sure the cake's there and things like that.
Yeah.
Which I think if
I
people,
never thought
if people
that,
know
actually.
the jobs, then it's good.
I never knew that.
Did you not invest
No, I've never, because sometimes I just think they're being nosy. We're really doing a job. Good on them.
So, have you ever had to do anything outside of your role as a videographer, as a photographer, anything?
Loads of times.
Loads.
And I think
We
for
kind of
us-
pride ourselves a little bit on it, don't we?
Yeah. And I feel like that's where we try and separate ourselves from maybe other videographers and photographers out there. We don't just turn up and go, I'm holding the camera, don't do nothing else.
Yeah.
Like
Don't talk to me.
on Friday's wedding at Coleshaw, I was moving tables with Ian, the Toastmaster. That wasn't my job. But it's one of them things as well, and I'm very conscious of this. It was at the time when the room was getting turned around, all the guests had just left, and it would have took me a minute to help them, 2 minutes tops. So I weren't missing nothing outside. It's not like I'm going off and I'm just abandoning my job. It's more like it's the appropriate time to do it. I've had at the time when the bride is moving from the bridal suite to where she's getting ready, which is a drive away, or they need stuff in a car moving because the weather's bad. We've done that. We've literally went to the bridal party. Do you want to throw your stuff in our car and we'll drive around? So West Tower, we've done it at West Tower before. We've done it at that venue I can't think of right now, top of my head.
Yeah.
I know where we've done that before. At Rainhill Hall, for someone that we didn't even mention that we've seen at a wedding recently, Becky and James.
Oh my God!
Can you believe
I cannot
that?
believe we jumped past Annie and Paul's wedding day. Obviously, it was Annie and Paul's wedding day. It wasn't Becky and James's. But Becky and James, for us, are just up there for
Our
us.
cheerleaders.
They are. Well, they're not even just cheerleaders.
Know what I mean?
Tell
Like
everyone who they are.
Becky and James at a wedding that we did, how many years ago was that now?
3 years ago.
3 years easy. Probably one of the first
No,
ones out of
2
COVID,
years
wasn't
ago.
it? It was that like out of COVID
2021.
year
Yeah.
at Rainhill Hall. And since then, we've kind of been a little bit inseparable, haven't we?
Well, we captured James's brother's wedding,
Yep.
Sam and Mike's.
And hopefully Becky and James are going to come on, aren't they? Hopefully.
Well,
We spoke to them about
we were pushing it
Well.
on. We're not pushing it on them because Becky and I.
Becky's ready to go.
Becky's ready to go. I think it's our James that we need to convince. But he's a great host. I'm not being funny. We seen him on Mike's wedding going round with the microphone
He's a little
interviewing
interviewer,
people.
wasn't he?
Yeah.
It's
He
like a
was
game show
he was a
host.
natural born host.
Speaker.
So yeah, Becky and James, thank you both for all your nice words, your questions. They've even sent Becky sent in questions for this question
last
time.
time, didn't
But from when we won couples on, yous are probably going to be the first we get on. I think yous two are just made for this. I was going to
Shout out
say
Becky and
shit,
James.
but yeah, yous are made for this shit.
Any roles that you've taken upon yourself?
Just all that type of stuff, really. Moving things around, ushering kids around, holding on to rings. I've done a few times. Probably not ideal because I didn't, but my rings were left back in the lodge when we got married
And
ourselves.
you got your rings for you?
Some lad, Josh, son,
Me.
ran and got them with the worst dad run ever, by the way.
To be fair, your photographer didn't help because she was snapping away as I was running up.
Leave Katie out of this. All right,
Katie's a
shout
nice
out Katie
girl.
Goff. What?
Yes.
All right.
Matty, being the hero that he is, as you just mentioned off air, let's just say, mentioning driving, me and him on one of his first weddings, I think he did for us. First one he ever did for us. The person who was driving the wedding car. Now, this isn't trying to put you off wedding cars, by the way. It's just an accident in a way. The driver had a heart attack, so it was an hour before they were going to church, or 30 minutes before church. It was panic stations, and Matty stepped up to the plate in his little whip, and we got to the venue with the bridesmaids intact.
We've done that a few times though, 'cause it's been a time when we've shot at St George's Hall,
Yes.
and they were going to Malmaison,
Yes.
was it? And they actually didn't have wedding cars, like it wasn't...
Isn't that
They
mad?
just didn't want them.
Very
So they
laid
were
back.
like, oh, we're just going to get a taxi. So we were like, just get in our car then. We'll drop you off."
Thankfully, I'd hoovered the car, and we didn't have kids at the time, I don't think, did we? I think you were
Hey,
pregnant.
the car was immaculate.
It was
my car, isn't...
Kids,
You've been in that car since we went to that Lapland the other week, and it's a joke.
they ruined the cars.
But you...
Cars.
Didn't someone break down? Haven't...
So basically, at Tom and Louise's wedding a little bit earlier this year, they had a wedding car. Same type of story. It didn't break. They didn't have. What did you say? A stroke?
Hot stuff.
Heart attack?
Don't sound so happy about saying
I'm not
that.
saying
No,
it.
I
I'm
like
not-
said
I just-
that with a laugh, but I was laughing.
I didn't say it like that, but I couldn't remember what he said. That was basically the thing.
He's all right, the fella,
Their
by the way.
actual car, I can't remember what the company was, and probably wouldn't say it anyway, even if I did know. Their car lost use of the brakes on the way to the venue and ends up coming to a rolling stop. It's weird how that. Rolling stop, not roll and stop. A rolling stop, and bumped into the back of another car at a set of traffic lights because they lost the use of the brakes. And then he got a taxi from wherever they got a taxi to the venue. But then I became their wedding car for thereafter because we went to do some couple shots in Sefton Park, and I drove them there and drove them onto their evening venue.
It's funny how the roles, about the topic of the week being roles, it just turns to us and our roles in the day and how we are bigging ourselves up, being like, yeah, we're always here to help out.
But we spoke about others first, and that's what we did.
I think
didn't
there's
we?
a
We
lot-
put them first.
I think
so
there's
I'm trying to claw that back in.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to cover on that topic, but
Roles.
obviously we're just conscious of time.
No, I think it'd be good when in a few weeks' time, when we are getting more guests on, to like touch on like their roles as well
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
day and how
Yeah.
they like step away from the job they're getting paid for, let's say, and how they sort of help out, because I know that's a lot with other suppliers. Everyone, luckily enough, we work with like the best in our industry from time to time, and they will step into different shoes to accommodate for the couple's day.
Of course they do.
No,
and
help
I
out.
think should do also.
So yeah, so brides and grooms, do not fear. We are there to help out with other roles in the day, and hopefully your brides and grooms follow.
End of topic.
Got 56 minutes.
On to question
Sounds-
time.
Question time.
5 to 10. Let's try and keep
Brilliant.
it brief.
Question time again.
All right, I'll say question time. 3, 2, 1. Question time with me, Josh, Beth, and Ryan. That's my question time voice. And Matty. What's that?
Oh, I'm just doing that at the camera.
He's odd. So,
I'll get off.
see you later. Becky, who we've just mentioned briefly, she's had 2 questions for us. Thanks, Becky, for your questions. And I'll just say both of them, so we'll do like fire rounds, okay? Because I know the first one we've got the answer. So the answer is: have you ever been?
The answer to the question.
Yeah, you know what I meant. Have you ever been or worked in a wedding where someone has been stood up at the altar? That has never happened.
No,
What?
that has never happened.
Never
but
happened.
I hope it never does happen.
Yeah, I hope it never does, yeah.
I said it in like a comedy way. Then, like I was like laughing about it because
Didn't show up.
because it's never happened. And I remember having this conversation years ago with my dad saying like that was a thing back in the day because weddings didn't really cost as much these days. And I think if you're paying out,
Yeah, no one's not showing
no
up.
one's
Barney.
not showing up. So
Remember that time where we
in Bandcamp,
done a wedding and the bride was there at the ceremony waiting to go in before the groom
Yes.
was there.
He-
the groom
the groom
was
was
late
fuming.
because
That's
he was
usually a
stuck
role
in
reverse,
traffic.
isn't it?
And I knew you're just thinking, is he going to turn up?
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of doubt in your mind thinking, why is he,
he
not
was
here?
fuming though, weren't he? Because
Yeah.
they'd hired like a limousine driver to drive them there, and the limousine driver was like his first day, didn't know the venue. He took him around the world because the sat nav put like don't put tolls
Yeah.
on like the route.
Yikes.
So it took him around the world to get into the venue, and yeah, he was late. But that can happen.
It's normally a running joke.
So
isn't
yeah,
it, that
Becky-
bride?
we haven't never had it, so that's
And
that.
hopefully never do
I
have
never
it.
do have it, yeah. So don't ever do it to us, anybody. And then she's put, and I think this is a nice question coming from her because this is what she did. And it says, how common is it for the bride to do a speech? And I think this weekend we had Nikki do a speech, and it was up there, very, very memorable for me for this year in particular, for how emotional it was,
Agreed.
how meaningful it was, and how like just authentic it was. It was so well written, and obviously Becky, who sent the question in, you done your own speech on the wedding day, and that was very similar to Nikki's in terms of how emotional it was, how meaningful and authentic it was. And I feel like, I'm not trying to big up the brides, but I do feel like brides don't really copy a script and don't go to Google. It all comes from a real, raw, authentic
Yeah.
place, and
I
it
would agree.
touches everyone in the room. And I remember Becky doing hers, even though it was a couple of years ago, and I can remember hers being quite touching and making you feel like, oh my god. And I after Becky did her speech, and I always say this about speeches, you feel like you know that person inside out, and you know everything about them, which is nice for us because, you know, we only turn up and capture the day.
I think we see it more and more now, brides doing speeches, don't we?
Yeah.
And it is nice. Sometimes brides do it as well as grooms, or sometimes brides do it in replacement of grooms.
Perfect. Anything to add?
No, I think that's
Nice.
summed up perfectly.
Ryan's got somewhere to be, so he's not getting involved. I'm joking.
Got 5 more minutes, what have you got?
5 more minutes. And the next question is best first dance, and that's from Mimi Bell Events. Shout out Mimi.
Her name's not Mimi.
Best first dance.
I didn't know.
What is it?
I can't remember. I
So,
actually
with
can't
best
remember.
first dance, that's a hard question because I don't like to be like, that was my favourite and all use are crap, because that's not the case. But I've seen ones where yours was up there.
Oh, you cried it, man.
I know. I've never ever cried at a first dance.
That's what I mean.
Ryan's was a really good
I'm
one.
going to say mine.
Yeah.
Ryan's was a really good one because it was such an intimate wedding. There wasn't anyone there really. It was 12 people in total, essentially watching them dance, which seems weirder than having 80 people watch you in a weird way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It wasn't a dance setting. It was outside on like a patio area, if you put it that way, like a decking area.
You all right, Beth?
And it was just, it was weird because we were all stood there and we're so close to them, but they were in this bubble. That's all I've ever said to you. It was the...
I just felt like I was watching them through a bubble. And I'd never heard the song before. It was sung live. So I think
Live.
that just helps in itself.
Ed and
And I
Olivia.
was just watching you, just like, just in love. And I was like, this is just gorgeous.
It was really nice. Then, on the other note, I've seen choreographed dances where they just go off. And one that springs to mind is Caitlin and Josh at Tyndon
Yes.
Hall. Wow, 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 wow. That was last year.
Do tell.
And it just... They did it to Lionel Richie
Yeah.
dancing on the ceiling, was it? No, I think I'm getting the
Is it
song
all
wrong.
night long?
Right, it was a
Yeah, I
definitely
just
a Lionel
remember
Richie
the
song.
hips going.
And everybody mean is dancing in the street all night long it was.
Needs
know,
to
you-
Funny how that's how you remember songs by singing them.
So yeah, there's he done the worm and everything, and that's not my cup of tea. But
Have you seen Ross and Monica?
we seen a Ross and Monica one, New Year's Eve dance. We seen
Seen
that at a wedding, and they didn't tell us about that. So that was so spontaneously, and we were
Yeah.
like, should have told us before, hadn't they? Because it would have been not better, but yeah, would have been nice to know. So move on to the next question, or do you want to keep talking about first answers?
No, we won't text them.
Go on.
I think there's variants of what a best dance looks
Well,
like.
I was-
Just like there's best anything, and it's more based on how you felt, how they were, and where all that type of stuff.
I just
summarising.
one wedding come to mind, and it was actually, I didn't film it, but you two did, and it was Helen and Ryan's, and they done their first dance as bride and groom, and then they both got their parents up,
Nice.
and I thought that was lovely. When I watched it that
Yeah.
way, it was really nice.
I feel like it was because I think both of them only had like one parent each.
The mum or the
yeah,
dad,
the mum
wasn't
or
it?
the dad.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah, I think everyone, you know, on a day, it's so, wedding days are always very emotional. And I think when you're lucky enough to have your parent there and you have that moment with them, you may never dance with them ever again like that. So when it happens, for us capturing it, we are thinking, oh my God, what a moment. And I think I'm glad you mentioned that because it didn't pop out in my mind. So thanks. Good memory.
Question?
Next question. Another one from Mimi Bell Events. Coolest thing you have seen at a wedding? That's hard.
These are hard questions.
These are hard. I think I can't even answer that
I'm
because
trying to think something different, as in like.
it's every wedding's different, and every wedding has something new. The time I saw one a couple of weeks ago, that was mad.
I actually thought about that before you even said it, and I weren't even there.
Yeah, it was mad. That was an unusual one. Seeing an actual.
I think
Fossil.
coolness can not just be like what happened, but also sometimes what was said.
Yes.
And like how people are, and like how people are dressed. That's such a wide area of questioning that.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it, for us? I think you put us on the spot there. I think the first time ever Ryan's being speechless.
I know, yeah. Take it while it's here because you don't get it again.
I think it's always refreshing when we see something different, isn't
Yeah.
it? So it's like when we've seen like bridesmaids all in different colours. That's quite,
Yes,
I think
that
that's
was
quite
nice.
cool.
Yeah, I
That
think
was
that's
a nice.
really cool.
That was a nice colour theme.
Yeah. Or when the wedding has a theme.
Yeah, I always just think with the thing being like the coolest thing you've seen, I always just feel like if you be authentic to yourself and you do what you want to do, that's cool to me.
That is
Yes.
very cool.
Because I think when you don't always have to follow traditions and it's just, you know, I don't know what the phrase is because you know what I'm like with me dictionary trying to think of me Josh's
I've got
phrase.
one.
Go on.
I've got one.
Carbon
And
copy, that was the
This
word.
might not be the coolest thing I've seen, but it's definitely up there. So one of the coolest things I've seen is not last year. I think it might have been last year. Kitty and Colin. You went there?
No.
No. So he's a musician. Has been a musician for many years, full-time musician as well. And he, not only when she entered the room, or when they were introduced into the room after you have your wedding breakfast, when they made that entrance announced as Mr. and Mrs., which obviously happens all the time, they came into a song which similar to what you've said before, I'd not heard before, which I think hits differently as well because you'd experienced something for the first time, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're not listening to a song that somebody else has had at their wedding. And I was almost more encapsulated to not even take photos of it because it was that much of a spectacle to me. And they did their like entrance room, but it was amazing. It went down dead well. But then the coolest part about that is after all the wedding breakfast and it come to the night time, a band played, obviously, which you'd expect from a musician, but he played lead guitar in said band and proper
Rocked out.
thrashed, proper rocked it up. And I thought that was
Jack Black and School of Rock.
very, very, very cool. Not just what happened, but the way that he carried himself while he was doing it as well. You could see he'd been in music forever. And he had his daughter there, and it was just pure them to a T, like you've just said. It was like the most authentic it could be, but then you couldn't have got more authentic than him playing at his own wedding. I thought that was dead cool.
I think I was cool like that. We could play, instruments.
All right.
I'm going to learn the piano for maybe.
We're going to get married first, lads.
So that comes on to my last question, Beth. This is for you. What are you hoping for Christmas?
Is that actually a question?
Yeah, it is.
It's
From
not what
our good friend Lauren.
Just in specific, what am I hoping
No, it
for?
doesn't say specifically
What
Beth.
are we?
It says, what are we all hoping for Christmas?
All right. I think we should just ask Beth. What do you want
No,
for
I
Christmas?
think we should. I'm not really.
What's on your list, Beth?
I'm not really
all
one
know.
for materialistic things. I've not really asked for much. I'm quite easy to please, Just something a little bit shiny. No, I'm messing. I've asked for walking boots.
A kettle.
Walking boots.
Walking
That's
boots.
the last
Shiny
thing I
walking boots.
Shiny
I've
walking
asked for
boots.
walking boots and a Stanley Cup, so I'm not.
Stanley Cup's quite shiny. Stainless steel one.
What do you want?
I'm quite easy to please.
Something Harry Potter related.
Oh, shock.
Um,
Bought off.
Ball off. Good health, wealth.
And well-being. Live, laugh, love.
No, I think this industry in particular, I'm not going a bit morbid with it, because obviously this is a quick Christmassy question, but I think next year a lot of people are feeling the hit supplier wise, because they know the way the world is going to take credit crunch. But yeah, me being political, but yeah, everyone's feeling the hit, aren't they, financially at the moment? So I feel like if I could hope for something, it'd be the turn of events for that, for everyone, so everyone benefits.
Oh, there's me being all
Everyone's
materialistic.
sort of
She's not
selfish
materialistic.
get.
Heal the world, make it a better place. Oh yeah, Abby?
For you and for me. Yeah, that's we'll get involved. But I was the best singer, so it's good I had to go.
Yeah.
You just stay quiet there, Beth.
Yeah, no. What do you want for Christmas?
That's what I want for Christmas. I think...
Come sit on my knee.
What a weird thought.
I know. So it was a joke.
So
Was it?
Becky always says to me that I'm very hard to buy for. Very hard.
You're going to give
And-
us some ideas?
No.
This is
because-
your chance, Becky,
Because
if you're listening.
well, she could give me this, but it's very hard to give this to people.
Hey.
Hey. But you know what I would love more than anything else, and I think everyone can testify, and I mean even Matty, like everyone in the world can testify to this. Time. I literally spoke about this today, about when people talk about money, talking about credit crunches and all that type of stuff. One thing that we as creators, especially with our high demands of our getting edits and all that type of stuff back, time is the rarest and most valuable commodity, and it rounds up, I think, the whole episode nicely around, you know, obviously Chloe not being able to have her dad at the wedding.
Yeah.
She would love that time back
Yeah.
over everything, not material, nothing. Time is so crucial and so poignant to every single person. Time, if I could get a snippet of time with the people who I love the most and more of that time, that would be the best gift anyone could ever give to me. You were right there, Beth? I see tears in your eyes there.
Send those walking boots back.
Give
Just give me a time, please.
you time.
It's going to take time to send them walking boots back. No, I think, even though, I think what you said there, you know, I'm very...
Started thinking about time and a certain person about
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
Yeah, and I feel like for us, this whole episode has been really, really nice. I'm dead means I think when you do a podcast like this, you are constantly not watching what you say, but you know, there's people listening, and you're trying to make sure that like you don't say the wrong thing, and it resonates with people that you want to, basically, who are listening, for them to sort of either take something from it, whether it's positive or bad, whatever. But yeah, I don't really know what to say really in terms of time. It's a tough one because
I think for us it's quite raw at the minute, the whole topic of time, because obviously, sadly, we've lost a good friend in the industry.
yeah.
Tragically, so sudden, and it's just a little bit raw.
I'm gone.
I just don't know what to say. I think because the last episode we spoke about this person, and I think I don't really know what to say. But I don't want to end the podcast like this because I know that he wouldn't want this.
Yeah.
But I feel like we did need to sort of.
Well, we
pay.
spoke about him many times. We were spoken about on the other podcast episode around his involvement at Mary's wedding that I shot with Rich, I'll say his name.
Yeah.
He was the second tutor for me at that wedding, and he told me all about his time and how he's allocated it around being half of a full-time worker in like a normal sense and half being a photographer. So he balanced his time perfectly, and he felt very precious about the time that he had and with the people around him. And he told me about different things. He got very, very deep in conversation. We will always do. We always do
Yeah,
as
we
well.
do, yeah, we do,
and I think that the more authentic anyone can be, the better. And he was so true to me on that day. And even though we'd only met him once before, we really, all of us, I think,
kept in touch.
just kept him like right there throughout the whole time. And I think talking about time, if we could have more time with Rich around us and more time with Rich on here and more time with anybody who sadly we've lost to be back in our world, that time is the gift. So if you're thinking, I think this is the message, which will kind of pull back into a more positive note.
Yeah.
If you're thinking around gifts for people at Christmas, most people, I think if you really ask them genuinely what they would want is your time. They don't want walking boots, they don't want rings, well, you might do. They don't want those material things. You get them because that's obviously what Christmas is for, giving gifts and whatever, but time is precious. And if you could give your time to anyone, whether that be picking up the phone to ring someone just to tell them how much you're thinking about them at a time where they might not have those people around that they want, that is the greatest gift you could give.
Thank you for listening.